Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yugioh Everything and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush episode review. In today's video, we are going to be reviewing the two episodes that just came out subbed, 138 and 139, the final two episodes of the 11th arc finale. Now, we do believe that this is the second to last arc. We know that Go Rush is reaching its climax, and we do believe that Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush is probably ending in March, even though that has not been officially confirmed. But we are assuming that this is the second to last arc, which is crazy. And of course, it is the duel between Yudias and YuhiOtes. And I'll start with 138 and then we'll go into 139, but I will speak generally first before we kind of dive into some specifics. I thought that this was a good arc finale, but I thought it was still underwhelming comparatively to the previous arc finales that we've gotten in Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush. I do feel that Go Rush has almost always delivered really, really well on the arc finale duels and moments for the storylines, but this was, I thought, one of the weaker ones, which is a little upsetting because, of course, we are at the end and you just want these arc finales to, you know, be better and better and better. And I think a big reason why I didn't, love this arc finale duel was because of the route they went in 138. So 138 saw the duel continue between Yudias and YuhiOtes, and they decided to kind of make it a recap episode, which I thought was a kind of a crazy decision. So we get a lot of recaps in the episode, what happened in Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s. We even get a little bit of a recap as to what happened in Go Rush with, you know, a little bit of a go back to the Lug duel where Yudias and Yugioh teamed up to take on two copies of the Lug, and then, of course, the Yudias duel at the end of Season 2. And it was all, of course, about Yugioh, and the reason was Yuhi would attack Yudias. Basically this thing called, I think it was like time power, would take over and it would show Yudias and all the spectators the memories of Yugioh, essentially. And there was an element of this I really liked. I actually really did like the fact that the variant characters were able to pseudo meet their descendants or their ancestors, whatever, you know, whatever the proper term is. Like, you know, Rovi had commented on Roman, Zion, he wasn't there, but they saw Nail, who was basically Zion's, you know, variant character. Manabu called Gakuto weird, which coming from him was rich. Those moments I really did like. So I thought those moments were fine. The problem is that was only about 10% of the recaps that we got. And in essence, in the middle of this duel, the second to last episode of this arc, we got a recap episode. And I know there were some people that said, well, you know, it's important because we need to remember what happened in 7s, and maybe for people that didn't watch 7s, it's important for them to know what happened because that's going to tie in to what's going on in this duel and then what might happen in the final arc. And I actually do agree with that. I think that's a fair point, but I think there was a much better time and place to do this sort of recap. I'm pretty sure we already had a recap this season. I can't remember if it was this arc. It may have been this arc, but we've already had a recap. Why not throw these scenes into that recap episode, or just do this like before the duel starts, not in the middle of the duel between Yudias and YuhiOtes. And YuhiOtes takes two incredible turns, two separate turns, where he summons three different 7s Road Magician fusion monsters. They are insane turns. He also plays a floodgate that prevents Yudias from basically activating effects or attacking with any monsters lower than level 10. So, you know, depending on your feeling of floodgates, that might also affect your enjoyment of the duel. It was cool to see Yudias break out of that in the final turn in the next episode. But yeah, sticking with 138, I thought it was one of the more disappointing episodes that an arc finale duel has ever had, because it was essentially a recap episode, and I just felt like it was a really weird decision to have a recap episode in the middle of an arc finale duel. I was not a big fan of it at all. I felt it took away from the really good dueling action that we got in 138, and yeah, I think that probably overall hurt my opinion of these two episodes and this arc finale in general. But you guys let me know. I mean, maybe you weren't as bothered by the decision to show so much recap. I mean, I don't have an exact number for you guys, but I would guess that like half of the episode was recap. And that is, to me, just again, a weird decision in an arc finale duel. But let's just move on to 139, which was by far a much better episode. YuhiOtes has once again locked Yudias out of doing anything, and Yudias needs to somehow summon a level 11 or higher monster. He's got his monsters on the field. He activates an effect that lets him draw one card, and he draws the ritual card, and he has no idea how the ritual card got in his deck. And of course, that's when Duel finally shows up, and whenever Duel is involved in an episode, man, it just takes the episode to the next level. And Duel starts talking to Yudias about the need to grow. Honestly, it's a lot of yapping, but it's also very, very important for Yudias's character that he needs to grow. He needs to go through this ritual, that he was the blank canvas that the creator made, and that's what made him special comparatively to all the other Valkyrians. And the way Duel describes it, it kind of sounds like an insult at first, but it really is a blessing and a curse, because while Yudias has this innate ability to see the good in people and believe what people say and always feel like people are trying to just do good, and that's a great ability that not a lot of people have, it also unfortunately means that he's more susceptible to be taken advantage of, and that you can tie into the real world, right? If you just assume everybody is nice and you assume everybody kind of has your best interest in mind, or they're doing things for a good purpose, you can very easily be taken advantage of. I'm sure all of us watching have been taken advantage of by someone in some sort of way, and we can kind of relate to understanding that, like, yeah, there are some great people out there, but there also are some bad people out there. And Yudias, of course, up until this point, has always just seen the good in people. He's always had that childlike innocence that I think we all possess at some point. And so Yudias kind of realizes he's got to go through a bit of a metamorphosis here. And he takes the angriest turn I have ever seen him take. I wouldn't call it evil. He wasn't being possessed by anyone. He was just angry at what has become, I think, of the entire situation. And he activates the ritual card. He summons a ritual monster, Diskarma Rhynic, which honestly looks very, very creepy. The smile this monster gives off, it does give off like wicked and twisted vibes. And this monster gets summoned, and it basically leads Yudias to defeating YuhiOtes, as it can attack 3 separate times and lower the attack points of one of YuhiOtes' monsters by 1,000 times the monsters used for the ritual summoning, which in this case was 3, so 3,000 attack points. And thanks to a couple of attacks after Otis activated Time Machine, Yudias was able to get the win. And I loved, one of my favorite scenes, not only from these episodes, but maybe from this entire show, was Yudias starting to cry after he took such an angry turn. And, YuhiOtes kind of calls him out for crying, and Yudias says he's crying because he's basically mourning the fact that he has to grow up. He's mourning the fact that he has to lose that childlike innocence, if you will, that has really defined himself and defined his character. And man, did that hit home for me. And I would probably bet it's hit home for a lot of people, that scene, because it's so, to me, relatable. Like, every single one of us has to grow up at some point. And there's a lot of times where we don't even realize when we have that moment, but you just look back as you get older and you're like, wow, I have real responsibilities. I don't view the world as pure and as maybe wonderful and beautiful as I once did. And it all is kind of up to you at that point to remind yourself, hey, there are a lot of great people out there, and there still is a lot of beauty in the world, but I just have to unfortunately look at it from a different lens, because that's what growing up has done, and that's what gaining these experiences has done. And I just felt like, from that perspective, man, you could talk about this episode and Yudias' character growth for hours. That element was such a highlight standout from this episode. It was an incredible moment for Yudias, and I am so excited to see how Yudias' character changes, if at all, but I'm sure it will, in this final arc of the final season. It reminds me a little bit of Yudias, not as severe in the intensity of, you know, becoming the Supreme King like Yudias did, but it reminds me of a very similar growth pattern that Yudias from Yu-Gi-Oh! GX had. And isn't it funny that Yudias is the second protagonist of the Rush franchise, and Yudias was the second protagonist of Yu-Gi-Oh! So I wonder if that was even maybe intentional there, but there's definitely similarities between the innocence that both of those characters had early on, and then of course life and hardships, and they had to grow up, and they've had to grow up here in their own respective shows very, very quickly. And so, yeah, from that element, man, the episode was amazing. Unfortunately, there was just a lot of other stuff, as I mentioned in 138, that I didn't particularly love, but I thought it was a great episode for Yudias. And now YuhiOtes basically confirms that he is not the real Otis. So from that storyline, we got nowhere. Like, we still don't know who the real Otis is. It's most likely not Yuhi, which even at the end of last arc, I did not think that Yuhi was going to be Otis. The characters get sent back in time. Yudias and Yuumu get sent back in time because remember, YuhiOtes activated Time Machine at the end of the duel. And it looks like they are in the old Sogetsu time period where Gakugen existed. You know, we've heard about Gakugen through a lot of Gakuto's tales from Sevens, even a little bit through Manabu's tales. So they have gone once again back into the past. And then it looks like at the end there's a character, and I don't know what to make of this, man. Some old man who looks like he's about to turn into a bowl of dust. But it looks like he's Otis. He's wearing Otis's garb, and I don't really know what this is supposed to mean. Is this the original Otis? Are they going to write it so that Otis is more of a concept rather than a singular character? Is that the route that they're going to go, where many different people have taken over the Otis mantle throughout the years? I have no idea. We definitely need to know, I think, a lot more about Otis, and we might be getting it through this old man. Maybe he was the original Otis. I don't know, and I don't know how I would like it if it went down that route, to be honest with you guys, but we're just gonna have to wait and see. Also, the Dark Men, including the cat Kuyamuya, who could talk, are dead. I know that's kind of a crazy thing to drop here at the end, but they're dead. I mean, they're dead. The Valgyrians get revived. I will say, I am not convinced that Fukamura, Sabuus, Bruyere, and Zayat are dead. They were taken by the Time Machine. We don't know where they are, and I do believe they may have survived being evaporated. And the reason I feel that way is because I just feel like the show would have shown them die and disappear to make that sequence way more impactful. Those are 4 characters that we've been with really since the start of this season, and whether you love all of them or you hate all of them or you like a couple of them or, you know, whatever, I think it just would have hit harder had they shown those characters, quote unquote, disappear and die along with the cat. And I think they could have even cut to whatever time period they got stuck in to say goodbye, but they didn't. And so I don't believe that those characters are gone, but I would love to know your thoughts on those Dark Men. And guys, I mean, that really wraps it up. You know, we are done with 11 arcs now of this show. We probably have one more arc to go. I was not a fan at all of the decision to show so many recap moments in 138, but I did enjoy what we got in 139, and I would love to hear from all of you in regards to Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush. We've got one arc left. Let me know what you want to see, and let me know what you thought of the Arc 11 finale. Thank you, as always, so much for watching. I will talk to you in the comments below, and I hope you have an amazing day. Take care, guys.